Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your stack of sources and distill them into the essential knowledge you need to be truly informed. Today, we are focusing on one of the most ambitious and almost immediately controversial digital security projects in the world. We're talking about India's Sanchar Saath, or the communication companion.
That's right. And to understand it, you have to understand the scale of the problem it's trying to solve.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The numbers in India are just staggering. You've got over 900 million mobile users, and where you have that kind of digital traffic, you're going to have fraud, sophisticated fraud.
And it was exploding. The source material, it points to National Crime Records Bureau data showing cyber fraud went up by an incredible 900%.
900 between 2020 and 2023.
Yeah. This isn't just petty crime, it's industrial scale.
So the government steps in.
Right. The Department of Telecom, the DOT, they launched Sanchar Saath. It started as a web portal back in May 2023, and then it became a full-fledged app by January 2025.
And is pitched as a tool for the citizen, right? Something to empower you.
It's exactly.
On paper, it sounds fantastic, giving power back to the user.
Yeah.
But this is where the story takes a very sharp turn.
A very sharp turn.
Because in November 2025, the government tried to make this helpful companion, well, mandatory.
They ordered it to be pre-installed on all new smartphones.
And that just flipped the script completely.
It did. The companion suddenly felt more like, an unwilling digital implant, and it triggered this massive public backlash over potential mass surveillance.
So our mission in this deep dive is to look at the sources and really measure the distance between the app's proven effectiveness, and there are quantifiable wins, and the really significant risks. The privacy erosion, which you call function creep.
What's fascinating here is that the line between genuine digital security and potential state surveillance, it's just thinner than ever, and this app walks right on it.
Let's start with that effectiveness, because you're right, the results are actually very impressive. The stated goals were noble, empowering users, strengthening security. So what problems did it actually fix?
The goals were very specific. The first big one was just combating device theft. I mean, that's a huge criminal market. So Sanchar Saath uses something called the Central Equipment Identity Register, or CEIR system.
Okay, so how does that work?
If your phone gets lost or stolen, you report its IMEI number. The system then blacklists that device nationally,
making it basically unusable on any network in India.
Exactly. It's a brick.
And we have data on the success rate.
We do, and it's tangible. As of June 2025, over 535,000 lost or stolen phones were recovered or just deactivated.
And the total is even higher.
Yeah, the total recovery has now passed 700,000 phones. That's a massive, massive amount of property.
You can see how that would have an immediate effect.
It does. It's a deterrent. There's academic analysis of similar systems, in places like India and Brazil. And it shows these tools cut the black market for stolen devices by 25 to 30%.
Because there's no incentive to steal it if you can't use it or sell it.
Precisely.
Okay, so that's the physical device. But what about the other huge issue, identity theft through fraudulent SIM cards?
Right. People getting SIMs registered in your name without you even knowing it. Sanchar Saathi's approach here was to sort of decentralize the policing of identity.
What do you mean by that?
The app lets you, the user, verify every single mobile connection registered to your name, and critically, you can disconnect any unauthorized lines almost instantly.
So it puts the power, the enforcement right in your hands.
That's it.
And the numbers. What did that translate to?
It was a huge cleanup. Because of these citizen reports, over 10 million illegal SIMs were just eliminated.
10 million.
And that's part of a total of 14 million unauthorized connections being shut down. 14 million. That's not just a number. That's millions of potential backdoors for fraud just sealed off.
That is a staggering figure.
Yeah.
But is it sustainable? Or was that just a one-time cleanup?
Well, the initial push was very rapid, but the science suggests it's a sustainable model. An academic paper looked specifically at these Indian cases. It found that this kind of IEI to SIM verification, it reduces identity fraud by 40%.
40, because it's tying the physical device to the digital identity.
That's just really powerful defense layer. Yes.
And beyond just cleaning up existing fraud, there's also a proactive tool in there, right? Chakshu.
Yes, Chakshu, which means the eye. This is all about prevention. It lets you flag suspicious calls, a weird SMS, in real time. And it's not just sending a report into the void.
Right.
It also provides you with trusted contact details from banks and other businesses, so you can immediately check if that message you got is legit or a phishing attempt.
And that constant feedback is actually working.
It is. The system processes thousands of reports every day. And that has directly contributed to deactivating almost 3 million spam numbers. 2.9 million, to be exact.
So you've got black market disruption, a 40% drop in identity fraud, real-time spam protection, plus the education piece, right? What, 23 languages?
23, including 21 regional ones, so it's very accessible. The web portal got 16.7 crore visits. The app itself, 5 million downloads in its first 6 months.
So it's very hard to argue with those results.
You can't. The technology is working exactly as it was designed to. It's solving real, complex problems.
Okay, we've established the successes. They're quantitative, they're clear. So now, here's the pivot. Why did all of that goodwill just evaporate the moment they announced the mandatory pre-installation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
If the results are this good, why the instant visceral rejection that forced the government to pull the order back in just a few days?
It really all comes down to the permissions problem and the fear of function creep. When people security researchers, the public started looking under the hood of the app, they saw it was asking for permissions that seemed, well, totally disproportionate to what it was supposed to be doing.
Right. Okay, let's break that down. The stated goals are technical, right? Block an IMEI, verify a SIM. What permissions was it asking for that set off all these alarm bells?
It wanted access to your SMS messages, your call logs, your camera, your device storage.
The camera? Wait, why would it need camera access to block a stolen phone?
It doesn't, and that's the point. Think about it logically. To check if a SIM is linked to your ID, the system needs network data, registration records. It absolutely does not need to see your private photos.
Or read your text messages.
Especially not read your text messages. Accessing SMS means whoever controls the system could potentially read your private chats. And more critically, they could intercept your banking OTPs.
Your one-time passwords. That completely compromises your financial security.
Completely. And camera and storage access, that opens the door to indexing or scraping private photos, documents, everything.
So these permissions laid the technical groundwork for something much bigger.
Exactly. They set the stage for function creep. That's the technical term for when a system designed for one good purpose secretly expands its function way beyond that original scope.
Often into surveillance.
Often into deep surveillance.
So the fear wasn't about what the app was doing in November 2025.
No, it was about what it could do tomorrow with all those powerful permissions already granted.
And this skepticism, it's not just paranoia. You're saying it's based on precedent.
It is. The academic community has been sounding this alarm for a while. One study in Big Data and Society looked at similar government apps in South Asia, and it found a really concerning pattern. A staggering 60% of them eventually evolved towards surveillance without ever getting new consent from the user.
60%.
And in India, people immediately thought of a specific example.
Aadhaar.
Correct, the Aadhaar system, the National Biometric ID. It started as a tool for welfare benefits, a very benevolent purpose. But over time, its scope just expanded and expanded, leading to all these controversies over data linking, privacy, mandatory use for services.
So people saw Sanchar Saath asking for these broad, unnecessary permissions, and they drew a straight line back to that experience.
They connected the dots. And they saw the potential for the same kind of function creep.
Now, the government officially denied this. Minister Scindia said there was no possibility of snooping.
He did. He said the system was secure and only for protection.
But then they withdrew the mandate almost immediately, on December 3rd. That action speaks louder than the words, doesn't it?
It really does. The withdrawal itself is telling. Despite the official denials, the public outcry was so strong they had to back down right away. The fact that citizens forced the reversal of a national mandate over privacy, it just shows this massive, justified trust deficit that exists now, especially in the post-Pegasus era.
It was a clear victory for privacy advocates.
A huge victory. And it underlines a key point. The app's utility is meaningless if the public believes its purpose can be twisted.
So what does this all mean for the everyday user? We're left with this paradox. You have an app that can genuinely cut your risk of identity fraud by 40%, maybe get your stolen phone back, but it also carries the inherent technical potential to be an invisible eye into your life.
And that forces a very difficult trade-off, especially for the most vulnerable groups. The sources note that 76% of women in India say they feel insecure in public spaces without some kind of vigilance.
which is a huge societal problem that a centralized tool could help with.
It could. Studies on what are called women's safety technologies show that apps integrated with things like CCTV and GPS can really transform the perception of security by as much as 20 to 30%. For marginalized communities, this app offers a tangible benefit, securing their mobile finances, flagging threats. But they only get that security at the cost of collective privacy. It's a tough choice.
And this tension leads us right into the challenges ahead. The tech works, but the trust is broken. What are the big structural changes needed to make Sanchar Saath work ethically?
The first, and it's the most urgent, is tackling this privacy versus protection problem head-on. How do you manage this enormous data set without succumbing to function creep? And the consensus from experts is clear. You need immediate, independent, external audits.
Independent audits. So not from the government.
Not from the government. Audits by third-party security experts who can verify the app's code and its function in real time. That's the only way you can prove to the public that the app is only doing what it says it is.
Then there's the adoption issue. 5 million downloads sounds like a lot, but it's a drop in the bucket next to 900 million users.
It is. If this is a national security tool, it needs national reach. And that means major targeted campaigns, especially in rural areas. The sources highlight a critical disparity here. 66% of women in rural India report feeling insecure because of a lack of vigilance.
They're the ones who might need it most, but are the least likely to be reached.
Exactly. The app has to be seen as a tool for everyone, not just for, urban early adopters.
And what about the technology itself? They're planning to integrate AI for fraud prediction. That adds a whole new layer of risk.
It does. Predictive AI is powerful, but it's also prone to bias if the data it's trained on is flawed. There's a real push for continuous ethical evaluations in all these women's safety technologies to make sure the AI doesn't end up reinforcing the very biases it's meant to fight.
And all of this circles back to the core issue: public trust. After this whole controversy, how does the Department of Telecom rebuild confidence?
Transparency is the only currency that matters now. They have to move beyond just general assurances. That means publishing specific data logs, show people exactly what information is collected, and crucially declare clear limits on how long that data is kept.
So people have proof that their data isn't being stored indefinitely for some future use.
Exactly. The public needs immutable proof. The technology works, we know that. But its ethics, those are the real guardrails that will determine its ultimate success or failure.
So Sanchar Saath seems to stand as a partial triumph. It has wildly succeeded in key metrics, recovering 700,000 devices, cutting identity fraud by 40%. But it failed spectacularly on the critical test of public trust and transparency.
And the withdrawal of that mandatory order is a monumental victory for privacy advocates, not just in India, but globally. It's a stark reminder. In our digital age, the potential for state surveillance is tied directly to the technical permissions on your phone. The power is inherent in the code, regardless of what the app says it does today.
And that leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to consider. When a government provides hard, measurable security, like a 40% reduction in your risk of identity fraud, how much are you willing to risk in terms of potential future surveillance before you refuse to download that app? What's the actual price tag for feeling safe in an increasingly digital world?